Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Peyton Anderson back with Next Level Athletes. I am thrilled to have Mark Redman on the podcast today, a highly touted tight end coming out of high school and a former Washington Husky. The now San Diego State starter saw himself raking 21 receptions for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mark, first of all, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And let's start with your recruitment out of high school. You originally began your collegiate career at Washington. Talk us through that decision and what ultimately led you to Washington over the other office you had.
It's kind of interesting because going into there when I committed, it's kind of funny that we got together on this date because this was the date back in 2019 that I think I committed to Washington. So it's just kind of funny how the world works like that. But
Yeah.
I had a great relationship with the coaches there, and that was Jordan Powell, Bush Hamden, Coach Peterson, and then coaching staff changes. Coach Peterson steps down. Unfortunately, Coach Hamden and Coach Powell were let go, and that kind of just it bummed me out. But whatever happens, happens, and I never really had any second thoughts about it, but just ended up getting there, and then that story is as well told down the line. But that's how I got there.
And additionally, what would you say was the biggest takeaway for you throughout the experience of just recruitment in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just being able to be yourself and being true and honest to people. A lot of people will come out there and just try to recruit you because they want you there, but they don't really. Some people
Yeah.
don't always are authentic about it. So you got to actually be able to build a relationship and connection with people that actually care about you as a person and not just as a football player.
And going back to high school, you saw yourself make 149 catches for 1,832 yards and 25 touchdowns, captaining your team in 2019 to a 35-27 win over Sarah in the Division 1A CIF state championship. The number 7 tight end in the country at the time, but also so much more. With that being said, what would you say was your all-time favorite memory first?
Favorite memory in high school, like you said, it has to be that state championship game. My brother and I, my oldest brother, he's 27 now, but we have a little rivalry because he won 3 CIF rings and I only won that one.
Okay.
And we both won state championship rings. So being able to win that one at least was really, really
Yeah.
exciting because at least I can tell him that I have won. And
hmm
it was just it's kind of funny now too at being at San Diego State we have now 3 or 4 players from Sarah that I played against.
hmm
They were sophomores at the time, or maybe some of them were even freshmen, but it's just funny because they're like, "Oh, I remember you. I remember you."
Yeah.
So that was probably one of my favorite memories would be that Sarah championship game.
And on top of this, what would you say you miss most about just being in high school in general, not only like football, but just like high school life?
Yeah, obviously the football team. You ask anyone, you ask NFL people, they're gonna say high school football is the
Yeah.
greatest thing. You get to play with your closest buddies, and um, high school in general. It's some people love it, some people hate it. I was right there in the middle. I had both
Yeah.
parts of it. But I think high school are the best days in a lot of people's lives, and I couldn't agree more with that. So
Yeah. Well, it's not as complicated until you get to college and stuff like that. That's for
exactly,
sure.
gotta start growing up.
Yeah. But going into your first and second years at Washington, what did you take away most from the program, but also what you felt you improved on most during your time there?
When I got there, I just felt I was a little bit undersized, even though coming in at about 235, I think it was, and had a really great leader in Cade Otton, who was going into his 4th year when I got there, and I
hmm
was just really lucky to come in and that man, I can't say enough good things about him. One of the nicest, all around best persons I've ever met. And then you also had a couple other guys, Devin Culp, Jack Westover, who were teammates up there, and same goes with them. They're just such great guys. And it's funny, I actually saw one of them just a couple weeks ago. So still keep in contact with them. And I just think the biggest takeaway probably was um, just being able to grow in my game of football overall, being able to learn from veteran guys. And that's the huge thing as coming in as a freshman anywhere or transferring or anything like that is being able to grow from other guys and have the support of your teammates around you.
hmm And jumping back to present time, now seeing yourself at San Diego State, talk us through your decision to ultimately transfer over and commit back in late December of 2021.
Yeah. I I mean, as much as I love Washington, I think there was a time to get out of there. And I mean,
Mhm.
there's a bunch of great guys up there. It's just it wasn't the right fit for me. I found out a little bit too late, but eventually made my way back down to San Diego State. Um, just ended up here. And funny quick story was Savai Eslu, my tight ends coach now. I was able and lucky to play enough in the Polynesian Bowl in early 2020, and he was actually one of the high school coaches there at the time. And right after that, he got the gig here at San Diego State, and then I ended up, or excuse me, no, yeah, and then I ended up at here at San Diego State as well.
Mhm.
So there was a little bit of connection before that as well, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, and this past year, you not only saw yourself impress the coaching staff, ultimately becoming the starting wide tight end, being named to the John Mackey Award watch list, along with the preseason first team All Mountain West selection by Phil Steele magazine. Looking at the past season in its entirety, what were you most proud of regarding your game and skill set on the field? Was there also anything you felt you wish you'd performed better in than you had hoped for?
Yeah, my biggest thing I talk about now and something that we worked on in spring ball was just consistency throughout. There would be games where I wouldn't be able to get my pads as low into a block or run the right route or get separation. So I think my biggest thing is my consistency in my game. And that's something that I keep on trying to work on, whether it be in the run game, pass blocking, anything like that. Is the biggest thing for me is just consistency and being able to keep up with that day in and day out.
Hmm. And before I forget, who is Cooper McDonald and what has he meant to you so far?
Yeah, he's actually my roommate. He's on the other side of this wall right now. And
Nice.
his older brother, Cade McDonald, as well, played here last year. So it was really cool to see brothers playing on a team. We had three sets of brothers on the team last year. And Cooper I met up at Washington, was roommates with him up there, and just created a strong bond with him. And one of my closest friends now. And it's always good to, especially transferring over, it was really
Yeah.
nice to have someone you already know coming with you as well. So, I mean, he's a heck of a player. I mean, whenever I go up against him, it's going to be a good matchup. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely a good player.
And looking at the two programs, Washington and San Diego State, what would you say is different playing in the Pac-12 compared to the Mountain West?
Uh, to be honest, I don't think there's that much of a difference. I mean, you still got competitive guys, and you can talk about sending people to the league and stuff like that at the higher level. And I mean, doesn't matter where you play, it doesn't matter if you're D1, D2, D3. I mean, if you're good enough to play, they're gonna see you and send you to the next level. And there is things that I like and dislike both about Washington and San Diego State, and that's gonna be anywhere you go. It doesn't matter if you go to Clemson, Alabama. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You're gonna have things that you like and dislike. So there's pros and cons everywhere you go, and definitely here as well. And that's just something that I look at.
Yeah. And when talking about recruitment, the NIL deals and everything else in between that might take place for any given athlete wanting to pursue a collegiate career in whatever sport they want. I think many, or if not all, can agree this can be a lot to handle at times. So for yourself, in your own words, what advice would you have to share with anyone wanting to take that next step to playing a collegiate sport, as well as anything they should like be aware of and look out for when they ultimately decide where they want to go play at?
Uh, First off, I think something that I was told as a high schooler kid, and I was too away from, too prudent from, was playing multiple sports. I played basketball my freshman year of high school, and although I mean there was some ups and downs in that, I wish I kept on playing because I think it would have bettered my ability in the football aspect. So that's one to start off with as well. And in the football aspect, I think you really just gotta do whatever you love. Some people want to go places because they got swag, honestly, and that wasn't
Mhm.
me. I wasn't one of those guys that wanted to go to Oregon for the uniforms or something like that. But hey, if that works out with you, go do it. I just
Mhm.
wanted to go to some place that I felt the respect was going to be both ways, and some places that could get me better. And I believe that at the time Washington was the place, and obviously that changed. And I believe San Diego State's the right place for me right now. And I think that through last year and this upcoming year, I definitely made the right choice.
Course. And when transitioning over to life off the field, what does a typical day look like for you during the season and off season?
So starting with the off season, since we're doing it right now, I'll just tell you how my day went today because I got something that probably a lot of other people don't do, and that's I'm actually working on getting my pilot's license right now. So
Oh, nice. It's awesome.
nice 6 a.m. workout this morning, waking up at 5, walking over there in the dark. So
Hmm.
did that, got a nice team run in, had a class 8 to 9, was able to come home and study some school, was able to study stuff up for this what I have, it's called a check ride. It's coming up April 27th. It's basically just a test to see if you can get your private pilot's license or not. So that's a
Hmm.
major thing that I've been working on as well.
Yeah.
Been doing that for about a year and a half now, and something I really enjoy off the field. So that's something in the off season I can do, but during season it's pretty busy day. You'll have classes in the morning, sometimes weights in the morning, and then practice in the afternoon. You'll be there from about 1 to some guys 6, 7, 8, depending on how much film you're going to watch after practice as well. So that would be a
Hmm.
typical day in the during season.
And on top of this, talk about your major. What's it about? But also why you chose it and what possibilities it might have in store for you and your future.
Yeah, so I'm a communications major. I never really knew what I wanted to do in my life, and I still honestly to this day don't really know what I want to do. And I think a lot of people that come to college feel that they need to know what they do, but I mean, I'm one to say I have no idea what I want to do after football, after college, after everything's done and said. So I went the communications route. I think it's a pretty broad and open spectrum, and I think that maybe at some point I'll be able to do something with that. And I just wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in college, so I picked that because I thought it was the most broad and open.
Hmm. And when taking a bit of a deeper dive into San Diego State as a whole, including the football program, what would you say the program prides themselves most on when it comes to their student athletes?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And we were just talking about it today with our team after we got done with our run. It's our toughness. And we've said that everyone's gonna say we're the underdog. Our first 5 out of 6 games this year, uh the teams we played, they had 10 plus wins. So most likely we'll probably be the underdog in the first 5 out of 6 games. And we like that. You have to have that chip on your shoulder, and that's what you need to win here because we're not always gonna have the talent here. We're not always gonna have the biggest guy or the fastest guy, but um I mean, you got to play as tough as you can, and that's it.
Hmm. And is that kind of how you would describe the program in a sentence? Just your
Definitely,
toughness.
definitely would be toughness. I mean, uh, I always tip my hat off to our strength coach, and he's definitely made it a lot harder and challenging at our place, and I really appreciate what he does. But I know
Yeah.
he would do.
Yeah. And additionally, where would you say is your favorite go-to spot on campus?
You talking food?
Anything you want to say.
Uh, we have a bowling alley actually on campus, which is probably pretty normal. I've actually never been there, but I really want to make my way out there. And then
Yeah.
we got two Mexican places, Panchos and Trujillo's, which just always will be good. So
Hmm.
food wise, that's it. We got our rec center. Sometimes we'll go in there and a couple of us will play some pickleball. That's my
Yeah.
ultimate favorite, just if I'm not doing anything outside of football, pickleball, and then our swimming pool as well. Got the
Nice.
diving boards open in the summer, and it's always fun to do that.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And looking in the NIL world and opportunities, have you been involved with or a part of anything so far in your collegiate career?
That's something where I haven't really taken that step into it. Um, Personally, some people will do it. I think I'd rather stay out of it. I'd rather just focus on football and that aspect of it. I don't think there's a need, at
Yeah.
least from my standpoint, in this. And it's different from person to person. I haven't really reached out to many companies. Many companies haven't reached out to me, but that's my personal take on it. I know a lot of people will be different on it, but it's
Yeah.
not something that I've invested my time into and gone looking for.
And so for adding on to that, kind of talked about a negative impact, but also what do you think NIL has to offer that can be beneficial? And even reiterating what you said, maybe another negative impact it can have on players and their mindset, or if it's distraction, like anything like that, what would you say?
Yeah, I think this is a slippery slope to go into, but I mean, I believe there's both pros and cons, and at at some places, some people might be getting more than other, and I think it's definitely a plus because you're able to at least give the student athlete a little bit more and help them. And I mean, teams got stipends and stuff, but some people got more to pay than other people, and
Mhm.
I think the NIL deal really opens that up. But there's a lot of factors that have to go into that as well because it's pretty much an open system right now, and
Mhm.
I think at some point in time, whether it's a year from now, 5 years, or 10 years, there's going to be a big catch in it, and who knows, I might come back to bite people in the butt. But I think it's a good starting point with
Mhm.
student athletes and to just help them out along the way.
Course. And looking back into life off the field, how would you first describe yourself, not only as an athlete on the field, but also as an individual off the field?
uh that's an interesting question. I think my close friends would say I'm a little bit goofy. I know everyone would say that about themselves probably, but
Hmm.
definitely caring is a big one. Always looking out for my friends and stuff like that. And then people that don't know me would probably just be like, "Oh, that's a tall, scary guy. I don't want to come up to him."
Hmm.
But I enjoy meeting new people and just telling each other life stories and stuff like that. And it's crazy how nice of a guy, at least I think I am. But
Yeah.
so I that's a quick summary.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, you played in your first bowl game of your collegiate career this past season, the Hawaii Bowl against Middle Tennessee State. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
And although you didn't get the ideal outcome you guys wanted, you didn't get to win, but what was the overall experience and takeaway like, not only in the preparation for the bowl game, but also being able to play another game to finish out a season and also catching a pass for a touchdown in that game?
I mean, to start off, absolutely, the being able to play not just 12 but 13 games, and obviously we were looking for that Mountain West championship, but things didn't turn out with some other games that we played. But being able to get the opportunity to go to Hawaii and play in another game versus a team like Middle Tennessee, I mean, they were different kind of players that we played against, and hats off to them for what they did. And our defense stepped it up and played a damn good game, and we just left too many opportunities out there on offense. But I mean, the preparation leading up to it, it's awesome. You get to meet some of the Middle Tennessee players. You get to go out and do all these fun things with your team. And
Hmm.
again, I'll say just being in Hawaii is a great
Yeah,
place to
it's
be.
pretty good
Not a
place to
bad,
be in for a
yeah,
bowl
not a bad place to
game.
be. It's things
Yeah,
like going to Pearl Harbor is just so eye opening and everything like that. But I mean,
yeah,
when it comes down to it, it was a really enjoyable time. And I'm glad that that was my first bowl game. So that was a
yeah.
huge plus.
That's awesome. And when thinking of the people that mean the most to you and your life growing up, who would this person or these people be for you specifically? But also, if they were to be listening, what would you have to share with them?
That's a good one. And I have to go to the basics that most people would say would be my mom and dad, my close family. I mean, there's
Mhm.
a close family friend, some high school coaches, and not to get too in depth with this, but a good a good friend that I had growing up who I
Mhm.
lost at the age of 16 from suicide. So a lot of stuff that I do it for him, and I try to live out in his name, and just that's a big thing that I try to advocate for as well. Even though many people probably don't know this, but is suicide prevention and mental health. So a lot of stuff that I do for him, and that's why I'm trying to be so kind and caring to other people because never know what
Mhm.
other people are going through.
Course. And when looking at the next level, like the NFL, if you were asked by a scout or coach what you're capable of, what you can add to a roster, but also why they should look into you specifically over others, how would you respond to that?
I think this upcoming season would definitely play a huge factor into it. Uh, you could say the whole 6'6", 250, 255 deal, but you're gonna have a lot of people that come out there and can do that as well that have those numbers.
Mhm.
So just being able to separate yourself from other people and like things I'm working on this off season is like a big time explosiveness thing. As I was just talking about with someone else recently, is George Kittle. I love watching George Kittle's film because he can route run and block and
Mhm.
he can block his tail off. So I really like the explosiveness of his game and his speed, and that's something that I'm trying to work on too, to try to mimic something that he is like.
Of course. And seeing that the team went 7-6 overall and 5-3 in conference play the past year, What are you most looking forward to with the group of guys you have as a whole?
Yeah, I think this year is a big year for us. I mean, COVID year that happened, and it wasn't really that great of a year for San Diego State. The 12-2 year that they had, and then the 7-6 year last year. I mean, I think it's really a big year for us, and we start stepping it up. And I mean, like I said earlier, those 5 out of 6 games we play, first ones, you got 10 teams that have, or you have 5 teams that won 10 games or more. So we're probably gonna be underdogs, but that's how we like it. I mean, you play with that
Mhm.
toughness, you play with that grit, and you just gotta give it everything that you got for those 60 minutes of the game. And I just think league play as well, that's definitely a huge one. And there's a couple games that we won back, that Fresno game. Really want
Mhm.
another shot at that one. Got a little personal there at the end. So there's a lot of games I'm looking forward to this year.
Of course. And on top of this, what might fans and others be able to expect expect from this team and the program as a whole going forward, not only for the upcoming season, but beyond that? What's the standard? What standard are you trying to set?
For me personally, I think I'm just trying to grow into a more of a role model type on this team. I hope that people will start to look up to me, and not just in my play, but in how I act and how I care for other people and how I treat the teammates, and try to hold people responsible, because I think a huge thing here is that we talk about is a player-led team. I mean, player-led teams don't get in trouble because you got
Hmm.
everyone else looking out for each other, and that's a big part of our program as well. And as long
Being
as
on
you
the
got
same
players looking out
page
for other players, I think you'll definitely be good.
and being on the same page, that's good too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh-huh. And when your collegiate career eventually comes to an end, how do you want to be remembered most for during your time, not only with Washington, but also with San Diego State?
That's a dang good question, and I just want to be that remember more than just an athlete, more than just a person on the field who was going out there for 60 minutes each week. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you're remembered as an athlete, just that, and you're doing something wrong for your statistics, you're doing something wrong. So be able to, whether it's giving back to the community, just being able to do random acts of kindness for people along the way, or anything such as that. I mean, that's how I hope to be remembered.
And last question, what kind of legacy and career do you want to leave behind college football as a whole?
I mean, sort of the same thing right there as well.
Hmm.
Um, I just want I like other people to remember me for who I am, and not the football player I am.
Hmm.
And that's kind of it's the way that I remember Cade Otton, as I spoke of earlier at Washington. I don't remember him for how great a football player he is, even though he's one of the most athletics, God gifted players that I've seen. I
Hmm.
remember him because of how kind he was and how uplifting he was, and what a great man and person he was. And that's something that I kind of strive to be as well.
Of course. Once again, Mark Redman, San Diego State tight end. Mark, really appreciate you coming on tonight, and wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peyton.
Of course.